Tonight, a winter storm is ramping up in eastern Newfoundland.
It sure is. We've got those winds starting to whip now. We'll talk about how long those winds are going to continue and how much longer this snowfall will continue. Might come up in a few minutes.
Basketball star Carl English is suing the owners of his former team, the St. John's Edge, why he feels he's being shortchanged.
After a 35-year absence from the Brier, Alex Smith from St. John's will be heading back to the national curling event.
It's a different perspective. You know, health, family is more important for sure, but there's nothing like winning.
I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'll have that story coming up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We'll get to the weather shortly, but first, a 22-year-old driver is dead after succumbing to her injuries. She's the second person to have died as a result of a head-on collision last Sunday on the TCH. A passenger in the same car, another 22-year-old female, died at the scene. At the time, police believed a 71-year-old driver of an SUV was impaired when he collided with their car near Arnold's Cove. That man was pulled from his burning vehicle. The RCMP are still investigating. And one person died in a house fire in Fleur-de-Lis this morning. The town's mayor tells CBC the Fleur-de-Lis Fire Department's truck was being serviced, so crews from neighboring Coachman's Cove and Bay Verte responded. He says the house was destroyed. Emergency responders were still at the scene this afternoon.
Well, it was a messy afternoon for drivers here on the Avalon. Wintry weather had schools and daycares shutting down early, while some schools, like in Conception Bay North and Clarenville, made the call to close this morning. Now, Canada Post pulled its drivers off the road here in St. John's. It's the same story for the Metro bus, and Memorial University also canceled its classes and shut down campuses early this afternoon. So definitely some wintry weather to contend with today. We've already seen about 10 centimeters of snow down here reported at the airport. 6 of those 10 centimeters fell in 1 hour between 2:30 and 3:30 this afternoon. Now we're starting to see some of that snowfall whip around, and that's because the winds are starting to pick up as well. Now, snowfall amounts also across the Avalon, from what I can see anywhere from 10 to 15 centimeters, but the northern Avalon seeing somewhere around 20 centimeters of snow. So we should start to see the snow wind down, especially after midnight, but it's these winds that are going to pick up. So already starting now, but we're looking at those winds gusting anywhere from 50 to 70, maybe even 80 kilometers per hour. So the snow very fluffy, so you can imagine you can blow it with your mouth now, but as those winds pick up, this will be whipping around. Those conditions will deteriorate quite quickly over the next couple of hours. So we'll talk about how much longer this will last, how much more snow we're expecting, and all of that in the full forecast when I come back in a little bit later in the show.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, today's weather also threw a wrench into the Conception Bay East Bell Island by-election. Elections Newfoundland and Labrador made the last-minute call to delay today's vote, saying the forecasted weather was expected during what's typically the busiest voting hours. People will instead be able to cast their ballots between 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 p.m. tomorrow. CBC spoke with the Liberal and NDP candidates. Both agree that Elections NL made the right call.
We've got our same game plan that we had for today in terms of getting out the vote. It's just moved until tomorrow, and I think it's in the best interest and safety of everyone involved. There was one day we actually took our door-to-door people in off the doors because it was a little bit too slippery a couple of weeks ago, that end of the week storm we had. And that is really the priority for us, is to make sure that everybody's safe.
When we look at the number of voters and we look at the volunteers and staff that would have to be at these polling stations as well, safety is paramount. And that's number one thing that we want to make sure that everyone is taken care of, and that certainly nobody is putting their lives at risk to go out and vote today.
Well, it was a tight race, but Brad Benoit has been elected as the administrative chief of Mi'kmaq First Nation. Benoit won by just 5 votes, receiving 114 votes altogether. Harvey Drew, who's been serving as interim chief of Mi'kmaq since Mizel Joe retired, received 109 votes. Joe says he will remain a traditional chief, offering spiritual guidance and sharing the culture and traditions of the First Nation. Joe will also mentor Benoit until a general election is held in June. Well, a Memorial University student was acquitted of sexual assault earlier today. It stemmed from an incident back in September of 2022, a short distance from the St. John's campus. A male student was accused of forcibly kissing and choking a female student. Here Now's Ariana Kelland has this update, but first a warning. Some may find the details of this story disturbing.
There were tears on both sides of a plexiglass divider separating a Memorial University student from the family and friends of the female student. For the accused, it was tears of relief as the judge dismissed charges of sexual assault, and choking. At the time of the alleged assault, the complainant was 17 years old. She told her story to CBC Investigates last year. She said a fellow student took her to his apartment near campus and began kissing her, then pushed her onto a bed and choked her. During a 2-day trial in November, she testified she told him to stop and he spit in her face. During his time on the stand, the accused testified that all activities were consensual and he denied pushing or grabbing her neck. Photos taken by police that same day showed marks on her body, but the defense argued it wasn't consistent with the level of force described. Judge Lois Gaines said both the complainant and accused were candid and straightforward on the stand, and neither was materially undermined on cross-examination. But Gaines said she didn't believe the accused spit on or choked the female student. She didn't explain how she reached that conclusion. The complainant did not appear in person to hear the verdict, but her parents did. As they left, her father uttered, "There's no justice here." There's no word yet if the Crown plans to appeal. Ariana Kelland, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, the Bay du Nord project has been a roller coaster of ups and downs over the years, but recent signals are once again restoring the industry's optimism in this on-again, off-again oil project. Here Now's Terry Roberts reports.
Our members are very pleased to hear that there is movement on the Bay du Nord project.
Right now, I think there is a time for some cautious optimism.
The issuing of 4 substantive expressions of interest by Equinor earlier this month has caused a stir in the local energy sector.
It's obvious to us that they absolutely want this project to succeed.
Equinor is testing the waters, looking for contractors who can play a big role in the proposed Bay du Nord offshore oil project, including companies that can build and operate a production vessel called an FPSO. Previously, Equinor planned to build its own, and it's also seeking companies who can take on the massive Bay du Nord subsea requirements. It's part of a new strategy by Equinor to try and drive down development costs, after announcing 8 months ago it was delaying the project for up to 3 years.
This is not an easy task, but we're not sitting around idle just waiting for better times.
The supply and service sector likes what they're seeing.
It has been clearly obvious to me that they are dedicated to being an operator in Canada.
And so does the energy minister.
They are taking a lot of positive steps in my mind when you think about the future of this.
Equinor is also proceeding with a costly exploration well this year in order to firm up the amount of recoverable oil. And the project manager for Bay du Nord recently relocated to St. John's. It's a long way from sanctioning a project that would produce up to 200,000 barrels of oil every day and inject billions into the economy.
Right now, it is not competitive. It's not good enough.
But the tone is more upbeat than it was last spring. The opposition PCs, however, are worried this new approach will mean fewer local construction jobs. But others are not ready to ring any alarm bells.
We will always be there to ensure that there's maximum opportunities for our members.
I've made sure to reiterate our points that the resource belongs to us and that we are going to want value in return.
Today is the deadline for those expressions of interest, but there's still plenty of steps to go before any contracts are awarded. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Newfoundland basketball star Carl English is suing the owners of his former team. In court filings, English says the St. John's Edge never paid him his monthly salary. The lawsuit sheds some light on a murky end to English's storied career. Despite a strong performance with the Edge, English did not return for the team's third and final season in 2020. English is suing owners Erwin Simon and Rob Saba, saying they owe him $130,000. English says he was paid a $30,000 installment and a $35,000 share of revenue from an event called the Carl English Appreciation Night. He says they were supposed to pay him a $5,000 monthly salary, but never did. Simon and Sabah have not filed a statement of defense and have not replied to CBC's requests for comment. Memorial University's Students' Union says steep tuition already makes it hard to recruit international students, and Ottawa's decision to cut back on the number of students coming to Canada won't make it any easier. Here Now's Heather Gillis reports.
Memorial University's Student Union says, no question, students here are struggling with housing and the cost of living.
We know how much students have suffered due to the lack of housing for the past 2-3 semesters.
Last week, the federal government said it would restrict the number of international students coming to Canada in the next 2 years, only issuing about 360,000 study permits, a 35% reduction. It's an attempt to tackle the housing crisis and protect students from some private colleges taking advantage. But Jawad Chowdhury doesn't think a cap is the answer.
So a more dedicated commitment towards solving the housing crisis is extremely necessary. And I believe a commitment cannot come from restricting other people. So
of the nearly 19,000 students at Memorial University, 5,100, or 27%, are international students. At College of the North Atlantic, about 10% of students, 671 people, come from abroad. Ottawa says the caps on each province will be weighted by population. That means bigger provinces with bigger international student populations, like Ontario, will see a bigger reduction, as much as 50%. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, Munsu says they're already seeing declining interest due to tuition hikes.
We are seeing a decline in international students. They're probably not so interested in Memorial as they were. And so I think it's extremely crucial that the government sustains all these institutions with a healthy level of funding.
He wants to see higher fees for international students banished.
Differential fees is a big issue. We have been advocating to get rid of differential fees. We think international students deserve access to education as much as anyone else.
In a social media post, Jerry Byrne, the province's immigration minister, says he's reviewing information about the cap and expects he'll have more to say later in the week. Heather Gillis, CBC News, St. John's.
The Millbrook Mall in Corner Brook will stay closed tomorrow, leaving residents without some services. This after major flooding over the weekend. A crew was on site repairing a water line which broke on Saturday. It means a drugstore, the YMCA, movie theater, restaurants, stores, and offices are all closed. The city shut off the water to some homes and businesses over the weekend while workers made repairs. City crews repaired a separate leak in a city water line yesterday, but the city says it was unrelated. The city says waterline breaks are fairly common this time of year. Well, the provincial curling championships have wrapped up, and with the final rocks thrown, Team Curtis and Team Simmons will head to the Scotties and Briar, respectively, to represent Newfoundland and Labrador. Harold Walters of the province's Curling Association says the competition is strong in this province.
It's been one of the best weeks of curling I've seen in my many years of being here. Some fabulous shot making all week. It's been really tense and strong. Great to watch. The place has been full all week. It's been, everybody here loves it. We're also live streaming. We got an awful lot of people watching on live stream as well, but no, it's a fabulous atmosphere. The teams that win the finals here today, the ladies teams will get to go to the National Scotties, and the men's teams will get to go to the Briar on the men's side. Once you get to that level, there's some very strong teams. So although the teams will likely get to the Scotties and the Briar, you talk to anyone here, they would never say they don't want to be there. You know, it's still a big fight to get there, and they're all delighted when they do get the opportunity. We've had a strong presence on every facet of curling lately in Canada, which is good for our teams. Our young junior teams have been up there. We're getting to send a couple of teams to each national. We're holding our own on the national stage. I think the competitions here are only going to get stronger. We could use a few more curling clubs. Unfortunately, we lost one last year, and it's really tight for I think we have 8 clubs left throughout the province to try and run our provincial competitions, and it's getting straining on curling clubs. But also, we're starting to see a little bit across the island of, they're trying to build programs back up and get us all running much better again.
A little bit of curling history was made over the weekend here at the St. John's Curling Club, with Team Simmons winning the provincial championship and getting the chance to go represent this province at the Briar. It marks the longest distance between one Briar appearance and the next, and that distance is 35 years, and that curler is St. John's' Alex Smith. Now, if this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
The banner goes up at Saskatchewan Place in Saskatoon to mark the opening of the men's championship.
Not many pictures from back then, except for this keepsake at the St. John's Curling Club.
I was 23, not very old.
One of the youngest people there, I guess?
I understand I was the youngest at that particular Briar.
And I'm representing St. John's Curling Club.
Led by skip Lauren Henderson, the local lads won 7, lost 4, and narrowly missed out on the playoffs.
It's different than the Briar today. It certainly was a little overwhelming, for sure. I think Sask Place had 8,000 people in the stands, and I tell everybody there's nothing like the sound of 8,000 people going, ooh, when you miss. It was great. I loved it.
Smith graduated in 1990, moved away for work, got married, had kids, and curling took a back seat. When he returned to the competitive game, a kid named Brad Gushu denied him a return trip to the Briar.
Like everyone else in the province, Brad grew into his talents, and we tried, but could never beat him. Yeah, it was frustrating, and still is, and I'm glad he's won the Briar last year. Yeah.
But on Sunday,
I sort of thought that was it. It's tough to spend the time at my age and do the practice you need to do to be good. I was thrilled to get the call from Andrew, and certainly thrilled to have been able to win. Yeah, you can hear it in my voice. Yeah.
In March, Smith makes his second trip to the Briar, 35 years after the first one. According to Curling Canada, that's the longest break ever for the national event.
It's a different perspective. Health, family is more important for sure, but there's nothing like winning.
Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, St. John's.
More than 50 seniors come out twice a week for this intense fitness class, and they tell me they're here for a lot more reasons than just the workout.
I like to be a fitness instructor and a friend. I love this class, and I wouldn't miss it unless I'm dying.
I'll tell you how this group is combating senior loneliness.
Have a look at this. Video producer and drone operator Danny Arsenault took to the skies this afternoon, getting a bird's eye view of Memorial's campus in St. John's just as the snow was starting to pick up. Stay with us. Ashley will be back with your forecast right after the break.
before conditions here on the Avalon got a little too windy, our colleague Danny Arsenault sent up his drone to get a bird's eye view of the snowy conditions.
Wow, here's a couple of plow operators making their way up the Prince Philip Parkway this afternoon. Not a view too many get to see this angle, except for maybe like the birds. But yeah, wow, there's some great video of the conditions today. You can see how quickly things started to get worse and worse. I was hearing, Ashley, though, a lot of people talking about how pretty it was out earlier today, because for a while it was like a postcard kind of snow.
Yeah, it was just like a snow globe kind of, and then now the snow globe is as if we're shaking it, because we've got those winds picking up out there. But yeah, it's really fluffy snow, as you saw out there a little bit earlier today. We've got very cold conditions in the upper atmosphere. It's the perfect recipe to see these winter storm conditions, and we do have that winter storm warning in place all along eastern portions of the island, and that will continue. We'll likely see those end as we head through the overnight, but we still have an extreme cold warning up across Labrador, particularly the west. You woke up to minus 44 this morning, or minus 44 was the record anyway. You were at just a little bit below that. Definitely a cold night. Won't be that cold tonight, but we are hanging on to this Arctic air mass, this ridge of high pressure to the north. There's our area of low pressure to the south now, bringing that snow. And we are seeing some of those windy conditions, or the winds start to ramp up at the moment. Anyway, Burgeo seeing wind gusts around 70 kilometers per hour. Cape Race seeing those winds gusting around 56 kilometers per hour. So this will continue as we head through the overnight. Temperatures sitting around -3 right now in St. John's. Feels like -11 with that wind chill. You get towards Gander though, Deer Lake, Stephenville, all feels more like -20 with that wind chill, and very cold up across Labrador, Makkovik. It feels like -38 with that wind chill. So expect that to continue with temperatures dropping quite dramatically tonight. There's a look at the snowfall that we're seeing now just to the south there. Picking up on some ice pellet mixture that should stay offshore for the most part tonight. But we are seeing some of those heavier bands in the mix. But as we head through the next couple of hours, we should actually start to see that taper off, the snowfall taper off anyway. But then the winds ramp up. So overnight tonight, we're looking at our temperatures sitting around -6 in St. John's. As you head towards central, the west coast, much cooler, much quieter weather as well. Towards Corner Brook sitting at -19, but those wind chills much colder than that. And then Labrador into the -20s, but -30s for Lab City, hence that extreme cold warning. Now, as far as timing things out, we are starting to see those winds ramp up, like I said, but over the next couple of hours, we will certainly see that. But this area of low pressure is going to pull away, so it's going to pull some of that heavier snow with it. So while the snow is ending, the winds ramping up means we're still looking at some pretty poor visibility on the roads, and this will continue as you look at the timeline here. The strong winds will continue even after the snow tapers off after midnight. So still looking at those winds gusting anywhere from 60, 70, maybe even 80 kilometers per hour, especially in exposed areas. So expect the reduced visibilities right through tomorrow morning and even into the afternoon hours. But for most of us, we should see clearing skies, especially across the island, up across Labrador. A beautiful day. A little bit windy, though, for those of you towards the coast. And these temperatures, these cool temperatures are going to stick around. So that means your wind chills are going to be quite dramatic through tomorrow afternoon as well. So when we talk about wind chill values into the -20s, -30s, frostbite happens fairly quickly. So if you are outside at all, you are certainly going to want to bundle up, because look at what happens with those winds as we head towards the evening hours. 80, 90 kilometer per hour winds expected up across coastal areas of Labrador. But we should start to see the winds die down, at least across the island, a lot less than what we'll start the day with. Those winds will be out of the north. But again, we're starting to see that northeasterly flow, so we may see some drizzle there as we head into the evening hours. Freezing drizzle, because temperatures are definitely going to be chilly. As far as what's left to fall, we're still looking potentially another 10 to 15 centimeters for the northern portion of the Avalon, otherwise 5 to 10, a little bit further south, and less as you head towards central and the west, maybe about 2 to 5 centimeters. But yes, still looking at those conditions anywhere, snowfall amounts rather, anywhere from 20 to 30 centimeters by tomorrow. Now, temperatures tomorrow will sit into the minus single digits for most of us, a little cooler through central, West Coast even still, with your daytime highs only reaching about -11 in Corner Brook tomorrow afternoon. Your wind's relatively light, though, only about 5 to 10 kilometers per hour, so it will be a nice day. Northern Peninsula, southeastern Labrador, your winds ramping up late in the day, anywhere from about -12 to -13, with lots of sunshine across the Big Land. A little milder in Nain, though, with the chance of some flurries, especially late day, and your temperature around -8. We'll talk about the long range when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. Well, a group of women in Corner Brook have found a way to beat the winter blues. Twice a week, dozens of seniors show up at the Civic Center for a fitness class. And as Here and Now's Colleen Connors learned, the workout involves a lot more than just cardio and weights. It's also about staying social.
And I love it. I love it. I love it. I hate it when it's cancelled and I hate missing it.
Right, left, come on, you got 4 more. You can come, you can participate. We've had as many as 72, 73 ladies here. 3, and take a break. Roll it back.
Well, we usually start with a warm-up, of course. Every fitness class starts with a warm-up. And first of all, I always remind people to take it at their own pace. I've known Nora since high school. She taught us exercise, and so I knew how it was going to be a good class. So as soon as I found out about it, I was up here, and then I started telling my friends, because when I first came, there was only, probably a dozen people first. And I started telling people, and then this is what's happened. I just, I feel good afterwards, because I need it. We're getting to that age, we got to keep moving.
But it's wonderful. I've met, I used to know a lot of these ladies. I used to see them.
Yeah.
But I can call them now. They're my besties.
Since we started this, these people have gained many friends here, and it's just a great social thing for them, besides the fitness part, which is why they're really here. But, they enjoy the fitness, they enjoy the friendships that they have, and just to get out of the house on a winter's day and do something and then when they leave here, they'll say, wow, I'm so glad I came to class today. Okay? But I think the thing for me is when somebody comes to me and says, do you know what, Nora, since I started this class, I can sit on my chair and tie my own sneakers up. So that's fantastic.
One of the main reasons I came in the beginning was because I had major health issues. So when I first started coming to Nora's class, all I could do was sit on the chair most of the time.
She's come a long way.
So now, a few years later, I can do the whole class. It really helps me with my walking and stuff like that. The other reason I like coming is, of course, for the social part. Get to come and giggle a bit and have a little chat, and it's really nice to see everybody. And Nora is quite awesome.
Probably because I'm a senior also. So I think that, if you offer this to people, I'm sure they'll come. If it's not there, they won't. They'll stay home. So, and with this aging population and people are living a little bit longer, staying in their own home, I think this is a great way to start to continue doing what they're doing, staying in their own home, looking after themselves with a little bit of help maybe, and, everybody's here for each other.
Wait, what? It was really unbelievable. I was just so happy.
When I'm designing a guitar pedal, that's me expressing myself creatively.
Coming up, from the Order of Canada to a different kind of music maker, we sit down with 2 creative artists who are both making big waves. Deantha Edmonds was having a cup of tea with her mom when she got a phone call she'll never forget. Edmonds has won acclaim as Canada's first Inuk opera singer. Now she's being appointed to the Order of Canada. Here Now's Heidi Adder sat down with Edmonds to get her reaction to the honor.
My name is Deantha Edmonds. I am Canada's first Inuk professional classical singer. To be appointed a member of the Order of Canada means so much to me, especially because our Governor General is such an inspirational Inuk. And to be recognized for who I am and the work that I do, it makes me feel like people are listening.
Tell me about that call about the Order of Canada.
It was truly amazing. When I think back to that moment when I got the call from the officer of the Governor General, I was listening carefully. I understood what she was saying, but I wasn't processing it. Like, there was somewhere in my mind that I was like, I think she's saying that I'm being appointed to the Order of Canada, but wait, what? Like, it was really unbelievable. I was just so happy. I was over at my mom's having coffee with her, and so it was just like incredible, yeah.
It is now an honor to introduce Deantha Edmonds, who is the first Inuk classical singer in Canada.
To be a part of this great land should be the pride of any man.
Indigenous music isn't just traditional music. Throat singing and drum dancing and powwow dancing and drumming, it's all incredible and strong, vibrant, beautiful, beautiful traditions. But there are Indigenous musicians making all kinds of music, whether it's classical like myself, or jazz, or pop, or rap, or hip hop. There's so many incredible Indigenous musicians out there. So when we think of Indigenous music, to try to remember that it includes all of those different genres. Something I often talk to youth about is to find something that you're really interested in and to do all that you can to pursue it, to not let anything stand in your way. I think that when we can connect with that light that we have in ourselves, then there's nothing that can stop you.
Well, staying with music and song, how does someone design a sound? Mark Bennett is a guitar player and an electrical engineer who uses his two passions to create his own guitar effects pedals. We dropped by his shop to hear how it's all done and to see what guitar slinger Nick Earl can do with one of Bennett's creations.
I think designing a guitar pedal for me is a lot like writing a song. You know, the creative itch is scratched in the same way. So, you know, like I can play the guitar, I can sing a tune, but when I'm designing a guitar pedal, that's me expressing myself creatively. Hi, my name is Mark Bennett, and I'm the owner-operator of Bennett Custom Audio here in St. John's. So I grew up in a house full of music, and I decided to study engineering after high school. And somewhere along my journey of learning how to play the guitar, I discovered effects pedals. And I just thought it was so cool how you could flick a switch, press a button, and change the sound of the instrument entirely. I thought that was so fascinating and so cool. And so going through university studying electrical engineering, I kind of started putting together in my head and said, oh wait, like that's what this does. You know, I've always been kind of involved in like the local music scene. In probably 2017, someone posted in one of the Facebook groups saying like, hey, does anyone have this pedal? And I messaged them and said like, hey, I could actually build this for you if you're interested. So it started like that, and then I built a couple more, and then eventually I kind of built a brand around it and started developing like my own models. So this is a breadboard, and essentially what it allows you to do is connect electronic components together without actually having to like solder them in a permanent way. And so arranging the different components in certain ways will give you different sounds out of the guitar. So after months and sometimes a year of prototyping and trying different things, you end up with a final product in a nice looking little enclosure. So this is the Lighthouse, and it does amplitude modulation, or AM, as we all know from radio. And what it does is it fades the volume in and out of your guitar. And even with your foot when it's on the floor, you can actually change the speed in real time just by holding the switch down. Like when you have a certain sound going, it just inspires you to play in a certain way and to write and make music. I mean, for example, like the rumble, like that classic surf song, like that would never be what it was without the tremolo effect, right? And so my goal is always to just provide the tools to songwriters to inspire them to play a little differently and to get their message out in a different way.
What's up, man?
Hey, buddy,
how you doing?
how's it going?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Oh man, what are you working on
Got something
here, man?
new for you to try here today?
Dude, yes, let's go. All right, dude.
Let's plug her up.
Oh man.
Clean tone?
Yeah. My name is Nick Earl of Nick Earl and the Reckless Hearts. Dude, it sounds so good. Oh my god. Lovely Mark Bennett has designed a new pedal to get me rocking and rolling, and I've been using his Weatherman overdrive for almost 4 years now. And I needed something that was going to do a little more crunch, and what I was using, trying different amps and stuff in the studio, and Mark was kind enough to put something together that's really doing that thing I needed to do. He's given me basically so many tools that have such a range of tone. To the point now I could get through a whole gig and just using his gear, which is amazing. You know. Or if you really want to get crazy with it. You know, it rips.
You know, it's hard to just be an engineer and design a guitar pedal. You really do need to be a musician as well, right? It's such a beautiful mix of like being creative, coming up with ideas, but also having that technical knowledge. Yeah, like there's an application of engineering principles involved, but you need to understand what rocks.
Now, a swish barrel is a retired rum barrel. It's a barrel that's had rum inside it, aging for 5 to 7 years.
Don't throw the baby out with the rum barrel. We're dipping into the archives to bring you a story about a different kind of recycling.
Living off the land and passing on Indigenous knowledge to the younger generation. Watch The Gathering, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, Nova Scotians experienced some power outages today as their first nor'easter of the year swept through the province. It was a slow, snowy commute in Halifax this morning. High winds also caused reduced visibility. Most schools were closed in that province as most areas got 10 to 15 centimeters of snow. Post-secondary schools were closed too, and ferry crossings between North Sydney and Port aux Basques were cancelled. Not everyone was hindered by the snow, though. Some hit the streets of Halifax bright and early to make the most of it.
We love it, obviously. It hasn't really been winter like normal this year or even last year, so we're just going to make the most of the snow while we can.
Very excited to be out. Cora loves the snow. Might be her favorite thing to eat. And yeah, no, just happy to be outside.
Looks like they're having a bit of fun out there. Well, it's certainly one way to stay warm. Back in the 80s, some people in the province were making their own alcohol thanks to some help from the NLC and some used barrels that still packed a punch. We dipped into the archives to bring you this report from the winter of 1981.
And finally, Newfoundlanders are known for valuing their traditions. And as Michael Vaughan tells us, one of those traditions has an unusually strong appeal.
For years, Murph, Neil, and the boys have been getting together down at the Newfoundland Liquor Corporation and buying themselves a swish barrel. Now, a swish barrel is a retired rum barrel. It's a barrel that's had rum inside it, aging for 5 to 7 years. After the Liquor Corporation pours off the rum, it sells the empty barrel. It's cheaper to buy a new one than to ship the old one back to Jamaica. But the reason Newfoundlanders buy them and take them home is because each barrel is a potential rum machine. These are heavy barrels made of thick oak. The insides are charred to give the rum flavor, and over the years, the wood soaks up some of the rum.
All right.
I burned you. We got her.
To release it, add water, about 8 liters, swish it around every day, and after about a week and a half, you have rum. Strong, dark, cheap rum.
It's like a brewing beer, I guess, you know. You did it yourself, right? And it certainly works. I've seen people falling out of my house, you know, right, from drinking it. So it certainly works.
Officially, the Liquor Corporation doesn't sell these barrels for their potential of cheap, tax-free rum, but so people can make barrel furniture, chairs, tables, flower tubs. But as one liquor official pointed out, you'd be foolish not to wash out the barrel first. Michael Vaughan, CBC News, St. John's.
And that's the news for Saturday, February the 28th. For The National, I'm Jan Tennant. Good night.
This is CBC.
to the right hospital.
My name is Charlie White. I have an outdoor YouTube channel based out of Colebrook, Newfoundland, right next to Stephenville in the Bay St. George area. Chase the Seasons is something that we do every single year. As Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, it's getting out and doing whatever activity is available for us at that time. So what we're going to be doing together here over the next couple of months is we're going to be doing some rabbit snaring. We're going to be doing some ice fishing for trout and smelt, and we're going to be doing some snowmobiling, some winter camping. It all depends on what Mother Nature is going to throw at us.
Yeah, I bet Charlie White would like a big snowfall like we got here today in town. My goodness, how much snow has fallen out there now?
Yeah, so unofficial reports just from some observers across the Avalon, about 16 or 17 centimeters has fallen. Again, northern Avalon seeing a bit more than that. So we're still on track to see, over 20 centimeters, it looks like, by the end of this.
And so when should people shovel?
That's the question, isn't it? We are, it's light and fluffy, so it's not that bad to shovel, which is nice, different from the cement we typically see. So, I mean, you can anytime you want.
Do it tonight?
Yeah, the wind's going to be whipping it around, so it'll probably blow
Then
right
should you
back
wait till
in.
tomorrow?
Maybe. Look at you. You gonna go shovel?
No. My back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you're probably going to want to wait till tomorrow. But again, you are going to see all of that blowing around. So.
All righty. Okay, so now we're going to look at the long range forecast. How's it looking later in the week?
Quiet for the most part. We're going to see a little bit of Arctic air move south and back in, and it's going to be all over the place. Let's take a look at what's going on for your long-range forecast. So we've got that ridge of high pressure up across Labrador that is going to dissipate for the most part, but we're going to see some flurries move in and some winds ramping up as well through the day on Tuesday and then eventually into Wednesday through the afternoon. As you see that trough move through, or that cold front move through, a little bit of a trough really, that will spark those flurries through the afternoon. Otherwise, quiet across the island. It'll be a pretty nice day. Temperatures a little warmer than the last couple anyway, into the minus single digits for most, and really mild up across Labrador compared to the last couple of days. -4 will be the afternoon high in Lab City for your Wednesday, and then single digits as well, minus single digits towards the coast, anywhere around -4, -5 for the rest of the big land through the day. Now, as we look ahead to Wednesday evening and into Thursday, another Arctic ridge of high pressure will dominate the weather picture, and that means your temperatures are going to drop back down again up across Labrador. But for the island, some flurries still certainly possible as we get through Thursday morning into the evening hours. Not too much in the way of accumulation. I don't see anything really significant weather-wise over the next couple of days, just that drop in temperatures up across the big land. But again, with those drops in temperature, we do see that sunshine return. So -21 in Lab City through the day, minus teens as you head towards the coast. But again, lots of sunshine, so not too bad. As far as the island is concerned, especially towards the northern peninsula, you are looking at minus teens through the day. A little bit of flurry activity expected for you early in the day, but you should see some clearing. Otherwise, flurry is the story for most of the island. Temperatures hovering anywhere from about 0 in the east to the minus single digits for the rest of the island. Now, long-range forecast not showing too much in the way of movement as far as those temperatures are concerned, and really no significant weather for now anyway. As we look ahead to Friday, we're looking at a temperature near -1, and the chance, or just some cloudy periods, I should say, the chance of flurries will return on Saturday. But your daytime high will sit into the minus single digits, and really overnight lows not dipping too much. We will see some of those temperatures dipping, though, especially in western Newfoundland, to the minus teens by the time we get into the weekend. A little bit more flurry activity Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Central and western portions of the island. Labrador, you're looking at a little bit of swing in temperatures like I showed you, but then we'll stay into those minus teens as we head into eastern Labrador and the west through the end of the weekend. I moved ahead a little quickly, but I mean, let's just take a look at this beautiful shot here. This is a perspective we don't typically see. At least I haven't seen a shot like this. It looks like, so that's Cabot Tower, obviously, but looks like a castle, doesn't it?
It does. It looks
cool.
a bit different. Where is that taken from? What angle is that?
It's on the East Coast Trail. But yes,
above Fort Amherst.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. So TA shared this shot with us. Great shot there. Thank you so much for that. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, you can do that on my Facebook page, or you can email them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Yeah. Not surprising that TA Loeffler is doing some hiking up
That's
there.
right. Oh yeah, that is that side, because I was trying to figure out where. Great shot. I love it.
Excellent. Beautiful. Everyone loved how beautiful Saturday was, too.
It was
We
stunning.
really talked about that. Gorgeous day. Anyways.
Sure was.
Well, that's it for us on this Monday evening. Thank you so much for spending part of your night with us.